So it was announced last week that James Gunn is returning to the Marvel Cinematic Universe once again to direct Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Now, when this was announced, my first thought was, oh well, good for him, good for him. Yeah, glad he's back in the driving seat with it. But then I was also a little bit questioning, I was questioning it because when they had initially announced he was fired, shortly after Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 rolled around, they had been quite vocal about why he was fired. So my thought process when he was rehired was, okay, good for him, but why? For those who don't know, seemingly shortly after the release of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, it surfaced that a few years ago, James Gunn had made some rather unsavory tweets. And following this, the tweets had resurfaced and people were getting quite angry at him. And Marvel decided it was probably best to distance themselves from Gunn. Which, I mean, it was sad, but it was the logical course of action to take. But, Gunn didn't fall off the radar after that. Shortly afterwards, he picked up an offer to direct the sequel slash reboot thing of Suicide Squad for the DC EU. So he abandoned one ship and picked up another. So yeah, he was keeping busy. He's apparently still set to direct the Suicide Squad movie. But then last week, as I said, he was rehired for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And I was happy that he was back, but I also questioned it. Why suddenly rehire him? Have they forgiven him for the tweets? Have they forgot about it? Have they accepted that the context that he sent them was a different time than it was now? I didn't find it surprising when they announced he wasn't returning for a sequel. The MCU, while the MCU is brilliant, it hasn't exactly managed to keep the same director all the way through. If you look at the four major trilogies of it, the Iron Man trilogy, Thor, Captain America, and the Avengers, Iron Man had uh, Jon Favreau as the director for the first two, and then switched to Shane Black for the third. Thor had three different directors, i.e. Kenneth Branagh, Alan Taylor, and Taika Waititi. Captain America started off with Joe Johnston for the first Avenger, and then switched to the Russo brothers for Winter Soldier and Civil War. And the Avengers had Joss Whedon for the first two films, and then switched to the Russo brothers for Infinity War. So, having a trilogy done by other directors, it wasn't exactly uncommon for the MCU. So, when we thought that James Gunn wasn't coming back for Volume 3, it was like, it's sad, but it's in line with things. But when I finally looked up why James Gunn was rehired, I admit the reason for it warms my heart. Essentially, people lobbied to have him reinstated for the third Guardians movie, and there was quite an aggressive letter writing campaign to get him back in, and among those who supported it were the Guardians of the Galaxy cast, i.e. Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, Bradley Cooper, and Vin Diesel. The actual cast of the Guardians. And I think the reason why this warms my heart is that you hear about these letter writing campaigns to get things done. From other things. For example, Joss Whedon's series of Firefly, when it was eventually cancelled, although that one wasn't successful, people did apparently lobby hard. Fans were quite active to try and get the show reinstated, even if it was unsuccessful. So just to hear people so passionate about it, and the actors involved so passionate to get the guy back in the driving seat to do the movie, that just to me felt wonderful. Once again, apparently James Gunn isn't going to come back to do it until he's finished his run on Suicide Squad, which is fair enough. He accepted another job in the interim, and he's got to see that one through. I'm glad he's back in the driving seat for Guardians Volume 3. I can't wait to see what happens of it when it presumably rolls around in 2020. But yeah, I was confused as to why he was rehired, but upon hearing why, I love him for that. I mean, especially the actors. I mean, when you consider actors, they gotta love the craft that they do, but then there's also a kind of a thought process that, well, they're mainly going to do it for the paycheck. I mean, there are actors who've had to take roles in films because they need to eat. And just to hear that these guys have lobbied with everyone else to get James Gunn returned, they they were passionate about it, and I love them for that. I mean, just to hear that they worked so hard to get James Gunn back in the driving seat, yeah, that warms my heart. Well, we'll have to see what they come up with when Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 rolls around in 2020. And also see how exactly they're going to be put back together and what kind of is going to happen after Endgame. Until then, we'll have to wait and see. See ya.